Hello, it's the 1st of January 2019 and today I'm having a bit of a trip down memory lane here. So for those of you who've been watching me for a few years now, you may remember this location. This is where one of the places where I was running the Home Gardens channel from a few years ago. This is one of the places where which it started off. So the polytunnel here is still in very good condition. There's some nice things actually still growing here at this time of year. But I thought I'd take the camera around and you can have a look and we'll have a bit of a chat and a bit of a reminisce. So that bed there. So a few years ago, I remember I grew my watermelons down here in the pots down here. I actually managed to get a good crop of watermelons in this polytunnel, and I think a lot of that is because it's in a place for which it gets a lot more sun than currently where the polytunnel I've got now is, and that would be a reason why. So this polytunnel is quite a good size actually. I forget the exact size, but I imagine it's double the length of mine and a metre or so wider, so you really can grow a lot in one of these. This is a Feel Good UK polytunnel, and it really is a nice size polytunnel. You can really work well in a polytunnel of this size, so yeah, it's very very nice. So you can see the yes, they are last year's now, tomato plants. They've got to be cleared, but looks like parsley down here, and we've got some celery currently being grown here as well, which looks very nice, doesn't it? And I remember one thing about growing celery. I grew it once and it was quite tough. I think you have to grow celery quite quick, otherwise it gets tough. And I'd imagine, you know, this looks quite nice and juicy and tender, so doesn't that look really really lovely? So over here, look, we've got the shelves once again. You see at the end there, you know, you really can walk around this polytunnel and work nicely here because of the extra space. And what have we got? I've got some strawberries probably taken from runners. Got some quince fruit that you know, they can store in here, and not only that, they give a nice aroma as well. Some more quinces there. Of course, they're starting to, you know, go over a bit now, but you can always cut off the bit that's not so good. What have we got down here? Got lettuces in amongst the weeds. One can't do everything, can they? But that looks quite nice there. And got all sorts going on here. Got another bed here with some bits and bobs in it. Looks like rocket, that does. So yeah, it's certainly in a good state of care. So yeah, it's a good sized polytunnel. I mean, one really can, you know, appreciate the additional size and space that a polytunnel of this size brings. So look at that, nice, eh? Same system as my current polytunnel, hinge door. But yeah, looks quite nice in there, methinks. Now, one of the first ever videos I put up was showing you this Winter King apple, otherwise known as Winston, that I grafted. And this apple, this tree, is doing really, really well. It's a long-keeping apple. Of course, it's deciduous, which is why it doesn't have any leaves on at the moment. But I grafted this, and that was, I think, graft, yeah, it's down there. And it's really bulked up. It's a real solid tree, and it's doing very well. Apparently, it had a good crop on it this year, so it's probably about 4 and a bit feet tall in total at the moment, and looking forward to hopefully seeing a good crop on this again in the coming year. Okay, so there's a good deal of composting going on here with the you know, the layered method here, including the slug of growing compost. And if you remember my grass snake video that I put up a few years ago, it was in probably not at this exact, but it was on this site where I found that grass snake in a compost bin. But yeah, so some ready-to-use compost, close to ready-to-use compost there by the looks of it. Yeah, gooseberry bushes. I remember that video I put up how to take a gooseberry cutting a few years ago. May have been off of one of these gooseberry bushes. But by all accounts, these are still producing well. Yes, so here with the this cubic metre water tank, this is where the water irrigation system is coming from. So I think, yeah, I will have to do a video covering this, I think, but just going to work out myself how it's working, and then I don't think there's any water in this at the moment, or not at least that much. It's probably been emptied. so it doesn't crack during the winter. This is a golden gauge plum. So yeah, golden gauge is not actually a gauge, it's a member of the plum. But this crops, if I remember correctly, did used to crop very heavily. Now yeah, here you go. This is a cool way of growing brassicas, things like kale. Look, you can grow them in these containers here. They're still netted, which at this time of year will be to protect from birds, because that's very much a consideration. But yeah, so you can grow brassicas in containers like this, no problems. Of course, at this time of year, due to the low light levels and you know, colder temperatures, growth will be a little bit on the slower side. But it's still you know, worth having. What you want really, if you're going to be, you know, want a good crop of brassicas over the winter period, you want to have them a good size around by October time, and then don't start touching them too much until you really need them. That way you keep your crop there, like successional readiness, if one will. And we've got some, looks like, yeah, it's more chard there. That's looking good. Got some more brassicas here, probably purple sprouting broccoli, if I use my brain. Got a few leeks here. More chard. Chard does very well on this site. Look at that, look. Real big, thick, lovely. Such a great thing to grow is chard. You remember the mulberry tree? This is probably about 25 years old, maybe a bit more now. It's been pruned as well. But these are a great tree to grow if you've got the space, because they're literally disease free. They can live for hundreds of years. They crop over a period of about 6 to 8 weeks when the fruits are in season, and they're a very beautiful, majestic tree. If you've got the space to let one grow, the little branches, they will stretch to the ground like a lovely drooping effect of them, and they really are a great, beautiful looking tree. Quite majestic actually. Of course, you need the space, as you can see, because of the roots, and because they're a long-lived tree, you know, they really want to put some good roots down. But you know, if you've got the space for a mulberry tree, certainly worth growing. You can see just how big that trunk. See how big that trunk's got now. Look, there's a spare patch here. So that's, I would imagine, going to be used for a bit of cultivation in the spring. And there's another patch here. They've been covered up with weed suppressants, so there's not loads of weeding to do in the spring. Now this is a great way to grow mint, look, in this, remember them old butler sinks? To stop it getting, because mint can be invasive, if you want to call it that, in the terms of gets everywhere. Well, yes, it's been quite interesting actually coming back here and having a look at it, but there is a chance that I might be able to get the use of a few beds here and maybe a little bit of the polytunnel. So I'm quite happy about that. So be interesting to see now what I can do here, and of course it's got to fit in with everything else, the current project, time, how much time one can devote to it. But in terms of extra space, even if I was able to just use, you know, 1, 2 or 3 little beds here, it could be handy to grow a lot more and expand on what I'm growing more and grow more for the channel. So I think that could be interesting. But thought I'd take you around with me. Enjoy the rest of your new year, and we will speak soon. And if you like my work, please feel free to like, share and subscribe. Dan_Home Gardens on Instagram, if indeed you are interested. Take care.